Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. So today, I would like to talk from a little bit different angle. Most of the journeys when we're connecting with you, it's either, well, in most of the cases, it's already has completed, or maybe there is already a certain milestone that has passed within the journey, and we either talking about maybe setback or we're celebrating successes, right? But today, I'm talking to Ade, and Ade is unique because, yes, she's at the beginning of her surrogacy journey, but she already has made some steps and had such a huge aha moments just that go personally to her, who she is as a mom, and what her role is and how she sees the whole process that I could not share that. And Ada actually brought a really amazing idea. She said that she would like to be documenting her journey as she's going. So I would imagine if she would allow us that we will have several meetings, several discussions, and this is the first one of many. So anyway, let's jump in. Hi, Ada.
Hey, hi. Yeah, really excited.
Thank you. Oh, and I'm so sorry. Before we spoken, Ade said go by the full name Adesola. So let me change that. So Adesola, where you located right now? Are you okay? Are you comfortable sharing?
Sure, yeah, we're located in London at the moment. Yeah, so European based.
All right, okay. And so you in UK, located in London, and you have actually selected not just one country, you've broken your journey into two different countries. Um, would you share that? But maybe even before we jump into that, if you're comfortable, share a little bit about yourself, just how you even came to the fertility journey.
Yeah, sure. So um myself and my husband, we got married about 3 years ago, and we obviously wanted to enjoy being married. So we kind of enjoyed that for a year, traveled. We also had a lot of weddings to go to. So really enjoyed that period. And then yeah, really kind of started trying. And after 3 months of coming off birth control, realized that there was obviously something wrong. Went to the doctor, and yeah, there was a diagnosis of premature ovarian failure, which after lots of investigation, it dwindles down to like an autoimmune condition which caused a lot of internal damage. So it damaged my ovaries, but also my uterus. So that's why our journey was a bit jumbled up, because initially we thought I was hopefully going to be able to carry the baby using IVF and maybe an egg donor, which is why we picked US because of the vast variety of black egg donors. That wasn't really an option in Europe. Also, the kind of privacy laws as well. We got a lot more information on the donor, which made us feel a lot more comfortable. So we picked US, and then yeah, kind of going through the process of trying to see if my lining was receptive, and you get bogged down into that fixed thing of trying to get it to the right number. And we just kept moving, and we just kind of realized, like, yeah, this is the worst decision, because we're just going to be setting ourselves up for failure. Even if we're able to get the lining, there's all these other autoimmune things happening with me that could then cause issues later down the line. And after everything we've been through, like a miscarriage would be obviously really devastating. So yeah, after a lot of deliberation, we made the decision that yes, surrogacy was our option. And yeah, to be honest, it was a really hard road, because it felt like it was like knocks along the way, because you have hope that, oh, I was going to be able to carry the baby, and then that gets knocked, and it's like, okay, surrogacy. But to be honest, the waiting and in the in between was probably the hardest part, because as soon as we made that decision, found you, and started moving forward, I just felt so much hope, because even though there was hope before, it was just not very tangible. There were so many things that had to align. Whereas this just feels like we're having the best egg donor. Joe has like the best semen, and then we're having like a surrogate who has all the best conditions, so that we're putting ourselves in the best position to have like a healthy pregnancy, which is at the end of the day what we want. And it really
Mhm.
doesn't matter if I was able to carry the baby because it wouldn't change how I would feel for that baby or how I'd enjoy that kind of process. It just would make it a bit different.
Mhm. You know, you just mentioned something. You said it will not change, how you felt about yourself, uh, whether, yeah, an egg donor was used or a surrogate, which is such a powerful realization. And I think many ladies never come to these terms. And maybe there are society norms and
Yeah.
expectations that we put on ourselves without even anyone judging us or telling us that this is not the way to go, right? We just feel from the moment, you started the journey, you said 3 months, we tried, we came off the birth control pills, and we realized something is wrong, right? And then, whatever the story we're creating in our heads as women, that feeling of, I don't know, failure, judgment, what's wrong with me, I'm betraying my family, I'm betraying,
Yeah.
my kids. How, like, talk me through that, because that realization, I think, is like the biggest lesson that I hope every lady could hear from your story
Mm.
and say, gosh, like, I'm amazing, I'm incredible. It doesn't matter how my child comes to me, it doesn't change my worth.
Yeah.
And maybe I'm making it up, but that's what I heard from you. And that's why
No,
I said, let's
100%.
talk.
No, 100%. And I think it, because we had it in quite a few stages, and maybe had a bit longer of a time to digest things. But I think when we realized that egg donor was probably going to be our only option, I had to come to the realization that the biological connection was not, I wanted a family, and I wanted a family with Joe. And we're really lucky that obviously like Joe's sperm is like all good and like where he's gonna have that biological connection. But I really wanted his kids and I really wanted his family. And if he had kids before we met and we met late in life, like I wouldn't love them any less. And that's kind of what I looked at and I was like, well, I'm gonna be this baby's mum, either way, and I wouldn't love them any less whether I gave birth to them or not, or there was a biological connection. So, and also this is not something that I chose. Like this is something that has been really hard. It's been something that I have had to deal with. However, I'm so lucky that I have options because there are lots of people who maybe financially or other reasons like don't have those options or maybe religiously they don't believe in using egg donors and things like that, but like we're so lucky that we're still able to have that dream. So I've just held on to that instead of
Mm.
like how we got there, because when we have our baby I'm not really going to look back and think of the journey. I'm just going to be so happy that I'm there.
Yes, yes, beautiful. Did you have, like, as you were going through ups and downs, did you feel a pressure to stay positive at all times? Or like, or no, you were able, to be raw, real yourself and give yourself space to grieve, to, think through how does it work?
Yeah, definitely. I think I'm really lucky that I have a really supportive partner, and during this whole process, I never felt that he made me feel like there was something wrong with me. He was always just like, whatever, we'll get through it together. So that was really, really important for me. And I did grieve with him and like with like close friends, but to be honest, at the start, I think it's you go back to that societal thing. It's like I didn't really talk about it with a lot of people because of that like shame or or just like almost the unknown as well, like kind of having to open the conversation when you just don't know what's going to happen. So I just didn't really discuss it with a lot of people till further down the line. And now I feel kind of way more confident that I've addressed it mentally and I'm able to speak to people about it with like less shame, more optimism and just within the right approach. Um, and that's why I feel really comfortable like sharing and like documenting my process because I really want to help people because I struggled finding stories that I resonated with during this process that would have helped me because a lot of women just don't really talk about it. And now that I've spoken to a lot of my friends, like you hear like so many people have had miscarriages or there's
Mhm.
other people going through similar things that just people just don't talk about. And it's
Right.
quite sad really, where there's a lot of like support, but also like information and wealth of knowledge that people can share with each other. So I'm such an advocate now for like all my friends now who haven't had kids, just like freeze your eggs, like that kind of thing. Because I
Yes.
wish someone told me that earlier on because yeah, the cost of egg donors obviously is a lot. So I was like, if you can save that, just freeze your eggs because you never know. And just trying to use it as an opportunity to like help anyone that may kind of like get any benefit out of like all that I've been through because I do think I've grieved and now like just feel positive about the future, the journey, and
Mhm.
I'm just enjoying that process now and being happy as I am now and just taking the time to do all the things that are like for me and not losing myself because I think I lost myself in kind of like what I thought I wasn't able to have in that process. And now I'm like, actually, I'm a lot more than that. And I need to refine myself and enjoy life. And because being a mom is only part of my identity.
I think you nailed it. And again, like it's such a powerful moment. I don't know how we could bring it to as many women and dads as well, right? Because yes, the realization that you're so much bigger, right? I think it's huge. And unless you reach this point and from the bottom of your heart, not like hypothetically saying, yep, yep, yeah, I agree, but deep inside you think once again that you less for whatever reason, that is it true to say that unless you come to this peace in your heart, then it will impact all areas of your life, right? Because that lack of
Definitely.
confidence and that weight that you are carrying, no matter how successful you might be in your studies or career or family, it would impact you. How would you, like you
Yeah.
mentioned also that you said you couldn't find so much like information or support, you wish there was more resources. Like, what would have helped you?
I think to hear more stories like mine because I'm a very solutions oriented person. I always like to look at the positives of situations, and I think there's a lot of stories where they're telling their stories, but like it didn't really resonate with me because I just always want to look at like the positives, not the negatives, and because I feel like we could spend years like looking at that. So that's kind of like what I just want to encourage people to do. Just look at the positives of the situation. Like we're embarking on something that I never thought I would do, which is like surrogacy in Mexico. And that is a crazy journey, but it's going to be exciting. It's going to be something we've never done before. And 10 years down the line, we're going to be telling our kids about it. And it's going to be something that no one else has done that like, so it's going to be our journey. So I think just like picking out the positives in your situation and like focusing on them. And I think having a plan, as long as that's in place, like I found that really kind of comforting.
Mhm.
Now that everything is in place, I just feel like I feel a lot more relaxed. And like, even though there's lots of steps to come, I know the plan's there. I know what the next steps are. There's that less ambiguity. Um, and yeah, I just think society also, like a lot of women just don't really feel comfortable talking about it. It makes them feel less than, which it really is not the case. We're way more than that. And modern medicine is there for a reason.
Mhm.
There's a lot of like sicknesses and things that like modern medicine's there to cure. This is one of them that can help people. So just, yeah, don't be afraid to kind of like educate yourself.
Yes.
And yeah, seek guidance where you kind of see fit.
Yeah. Another thing that you mentioned also kind of piqued my interest. You said that until you started opening up and talking to other people, you didn't realize how many people actually do go through challenges, right? Like at the beginning, we're all making assumptions that what's happening is just to me. I'm unique in a negative way, right? And no one else would understand. But the more you have been talking, you realize that you're not by yourself, right? And
Yeah.
there is nothing wrong about it. It's just for whatever reasons, yes, we have different paths. I don't know, maybe it's I don't know, food we eat or whatever, air
Yeah.
we breathe. But it's definitely like the numbers are staggering as far as how many families are going through challenges. And it's okay to say, I need help.
100%. And yeah, don't be afraid to, yeah, get help where you kind of can get it. And I think therapy really, really helped me during this process as well. Having someone that's like independent to talk things through was like really important. So I think definitely have someone like I know part of the process is getting kind of like therapy and support, but I think just have it ongoing because it is really, really vital. A lot of things um, I think early on, like a lot of triggers that I got triggered, like when you're in the park or wherever you see like kids running around and things like that. And like lots of things trigger you, so just how to deal with that. But again, I think for me, as soon as now that I know kind of everything is like coming close to being real, all those triggers have almost gone away. And I actually like now see kids in the park and I just like smile and I am so excited for our opportunity and our kind of like future. So yeah, definitely get support, understand your triggers, understand the things that actually are upsetting you. And also I think sometimes like zooming out because when I was going through, I obviously felt like it was the most difficult thing ever and it was the hardest thing. But then you hear from some people what they're going through and you're like, wow, like sometimes you do need to zoom out and be like, there's some people dealing with like terminal illnesses. And at the end of the day, like I'm just so lucky that that's not what I'm having to deal with. And yeah, it just sometimes you just have to take a step out back from yourself and yeah, just look at the bigger picture as well.
Oh, so good. Would you talk a little bit now, maybe through logistics and your discovery process? Because, like you said, you decided to do creation of embryos in the United States. The choice was the availability of donors, and you also mentioned about access to more information about donors, which I think it's really big. So maybe share about that, like what kind of information you were looking for, and what kind of data was available for each donor. And then you chose surrogacy in Mexico. So talk us through the decisions because that also could be helpful to some families as they going through their discovery process.
Sure. So yeah, in we looked at egg donors in UK and then Europe, and because of laws, a lot of countries don't really give you much information. They just give you kind of like skin color, eye color, hair type, that kind of thing. Is like obviously very minimal information for someone that is going to be your egg donor, which we just didn't really feel comfortable with. So we kind of researched, and US had the biggest kind of like option of like donor banks that had black egg donors. So that's kind of like where logically made sense for us. So we kind of like research and look through to find the biggest ones. And then we also really wanted to understand their kind of like family history, medical history, like educational background was important as well. And mostly just, I think it was really important to see childhood pictures and things
Yeah.
like that. And I tried to pick someone that color because a lot of the donors were a bit more like fairer and light skinned and I want someone a bit more like darker skin like me and yeah just someone where I felt was a good donor match look wise career wise and also I think it was really important that they had had a healthy child as well like later on as well
So they already
just
had the donors you selected were already
yeah
mothers. Okay.
exactly just to kind of
Which is
show like the
not, guys, it's
quality
not the same across the board. So, like, if that's something you're looking for, there are some countries that
yeah
actually mandatory require. United States does not require donor to be mother, but this data is still collected. So you definitely would be
exactly.
looking at that parameter as well.
Yeah, and I think that's when we're looking through the list of filters, you kind of maybe don't realize things that are important to you that like come up and you actually like then know and can like adjust based on that. So yeah, found the donor, did all that. We had to use a clinic that was associated with that donor bank, which we chose, and we were obviously willing to try and do a transfer with me. It wasn't an option, so we started researching surrogacy and all the legalities. And in a lot of countries as well, the kind of the parents don't go on the intended parents don't actually go on the birth certificate, and that was really really important to us that we kind of were on the birth certificate. So researching from all the countries, I think it was Canada, which the because it's altruistic, really long waiting list. US is very expensive. Ukraine, we didn't really feel that was an option for us. And Mexico, and I think Georgia was another one. But yeah, we thought Mexico City was kind of the best option for us. Also, we kind of wanted to think where would we not mind staying for 3 to 4 months as well. And Mexico seemed like a really great option. We'd both never been. And we thought, yeah, we could definitely use the opportunity to travel around before as well. And Mexico City is obviously amazing.
Yeah, I think you're
So
gonna love
yeah,
it.
yeah, I can't wait. So that's kind of like, yeah, how we would tour down to Mexico City. And then, yeah, this just started researching kind of like surrogacy agencies. And some of the resources that we found really useful were like Facebook groups and also Reddit groups as well, which is like how we found you.
Mhm.
Because I feel like it's just way more authentic. And yeah, I'm really, really glad that we came across you because one of the things that we just felt was like we had to go with our gut. And as soon as we like met with you versus the others, we just kind of felt like, yeah, this was the right fit. And we just went with it.
Well, thank you so much for saying that. Could you speak a little bit about biotransport? I know for many families, just even that question, it became such a scary point, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
imagining I'm creating embryos in one place, I possibly need to be moving it, and it feels extremely scary, almost like a panic attack, right? Like, yes, you are sending your
Yeah.
babies without you, and what's going to happen? How did you navigate that?
It did seem really scary on the face of it, but actually when we went through it, it was you guys made it really, really simple. The company that you recommended as well, made it really seamless. The clinic on both ends were really helpful in providing all the documents that we needed. We obviously chose a like a hand courier service, so we felt really reassured that everything was going to be in hand. And yeah, it was a really seamless process, to be honest. I think the thought of it was way more daunting than it actually was. And yeah, we got obviously updates across when it was picked up, when like Korea had it, when it was dropped off. Like everything was like we got really good updates. So yeah, it was really seamless, to be honest.
Okay, okay. So, guys, yeah, it really is not as scary as it might feel. And definitely ask questions, right? Ask as many questions to feel comfortable about that. What about, we had so selection of surrogate. Well, actually, let's go back to the donor. How long did it take you to find your perfect donor? And did you have any expectations going into it, or you said we're gonna continue looking until we find one? Forget about timeline.
Yeah, that's kind of it. We were like, it's quite a big decision. So if we weren't sure about one, we kind of would just like not go for it, and we just were prepared to wait as long as we kind of needed to find the perfect match once we knew what all our criterias were, and it took us about 3 months. And yeah, we were really lucky that the donor we selected as well had quite a lot of eggs as well because we wanted to get as much as possible because hopefully we'd like to have the option to have 2 kids with the same donor. So yeah, we kind of were able to buy quite a few eggs, which was quite easy just to have it all done. But yeah, about 3 months, and then the whole process up until like shipping them from there was probably about 5 months all in total. It was really, really quick, to be honest.
So from the moment you made decision to start looking for donor until you had embryos ready to be traveling, it was 5 months.
No, so embryos took a bit longer. So until the eggs were actually with the clinic in US was about 5 months, and then we obviously were waiting to see if my lining would kind of recover. And I think a lot of the clinics hold off creating the embryos because I think they've had issues maybe where people change their mind because it's
Mm.
quite a difficult process, maybe mentally. But yeah, so they held off. But yeah, we were obviously still resolute, like there was no option for us. So yeah, we created the embryos probably about 6 months after that. Um, and yeah, that was a very quick process. And as soon as they were created, yeah, they were shipped over to you guys in Mexico.
Okay, okay. So the reason I'm asking about timeline because I do have some families when they start the journey, they have like a particular date in mind. They're like, we already have waited so long, like we have not been parents and not waited in a fertility journey, but just was the whole idea of Now we're ready to become parents. We made the decision. We want to have baby by Christmas, for
Yeah.
example. And I think it's phenomenal idea, but what you're describing is, and at least what I'm also hearing from some other parents, the moment you lock yourself in a particular timeline, it becomes very stressful. Not because people are not trying, right? But because you have this timeline that you suddenly cannot control, and
Yeah.
it becomes like that source of constant stress. And I do worry that when we put timeline first, we might then negotiate on some important things, right? Like you said, perfect donor was important to you, right? It didn't matter if it takes 3 months, 5 months, or whatever it is. But if you had Christmas in mind, have baby Christmas, you probably would have settled for whatever donor, right? Like talk through.
Yeah. No, I think, yeah, like obviously it's nice to have things to work to, but I do think this is such a big and important decision. You do kind of have to take the step back and make the right choice. So, like, the right donor is so important. I don't think anyone should sacrifice on that. It's very important. Likewise with the surrogate, like, we were really lucky that you guys found us surrogates quite quickly, and good match. But like, if we hadn't found the right match, I do think it's worth waiting. Because after everything you've been through, all the heartache, I think it's worth like just taking your time to ensure that the process is as seamless as possible, not stressful, and you can just be as relaxed. And also just things do come up that are outside of like control, so you just have to kind of like, yeah, deal with them as they come. But yeah, have a guide what you're kind of aiming for, but yeah, just don't let that take over the whole process, I think is my advice.
Okay, all right. Well, thank you. Right, because the lessons that you learn, I think, are so wonderful and important, and probably would save other ladies and dads some grief as well. Um, Now, being where you are right now, what would be maybe some advices you would have given yourself when you just met the idea, gosh, like we might need to, do some fertility steps? What would you have said to yourself?
I'd probably like early on said to myself, be kinder to myself, not be so hard on
Kinder.
myself. Um, and yeah, I think also maybe make decisions a bit quicker. I feel like you hold on to little things that are like actually not that important, and you can actually just stress yourself out so much. So I was just holding on to something that like realistically wasn't possible, i.e., me being able to carry the baby because the lining at the first try was like really not great, and realistically, it wasn't going to become amazing in like a short period of time. So I think I wish we called it a lot earlier. However, I do think for us, maybe we felt like we had to do everything before we moved forward. So maybe that was our process. But I do wish we maybe just saved ourselves quite a lot of heartache because some of the hardest parts of it was just the scans and like the negative, constant negative news. And that takes over because you can live every day. But then if you have a scan, even though you think it's not important or I won't take
You
this
tell yourself it's
seriously.
not
You tell
important, right?
yourself, oh, it's just a check-in, it's just like whatever, and then you do it, and then it can literally just like take over your whole week. And before you know it, you're just in the most like deflated mood kind of thing. And I feel like those were the hardest moments because of that, because it was just so constant. And that's also why now I just feel this weight lifted and like so much more positive, because everything isn't just like appointments, negative news. It's just definitely more positive and moving in the right direction.
Thank you so much. With fertility journey, we also cannot guarantee that everything will be possible, positive, right?
Yeah,
We Everything is being done to maximize the chance that there is a pregnancy on the first try, right? We know that
yeah.
doctors are doing anything and everything possible, but it also, right, like nothing is guaranteed. What would you say yourself moving forward? Like, how would you then be kinder to yourself? How would you continue saying, okay, it's just a path. I will become a parent. There is just no way around it. Sometimes it's, God's timing or whatever it is, right? So, what would you say to yourself?
Yeah, I think, yeah, definitely, like you said, God's timing. I think everything happens for a reason is one of the mottos I'm going by at the moment. Because even when things seem like they were a bad thing, like a month later, I've realized actually, no, that would actually happen for the right reason. So I think just being more kind of patient and just obviously doing the best things we can. But I really like that you said to us, it's like, yeah, don't be afraid if the first transfer doesn't like is abandoned because you do want everything to be right. And I actually appreciate that. Like I don't want to rush things. I want everything to be like the optimum to because it's not guaranteed. So it's like, why would we not give everything the best chance to succeed? So yeah, just be patient. Um, ensure that you're just making the best decisions for yourselves because it might seem like, oh, we want to rush things, but then it would be way worse if a month later down the line it was a not successful transfer. Like that's going to be way more like heartbreaking.
Painful. Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes. And when you said, I don't know if it's clear to people, maybe not, for people who are not on a journey, what we love about our doctors, they will not proceed with the embryo transfer unless they're absolutely sure that all of the readings of endometrium and everything is just absolutely perfect. And we had surrogates that were, taking off the cycle, and we were waiting for the next cycle, right? So your timeline might be extending. But at the end, those ladies were getting pregnant on the first try. So we learned to really trust the doctors, right? They're professionals. They sometimes they cannot even explain why they're making those decisions. They just have that feeling with all of the experience that they have. The best way is to step back. And I so appreciate that they take every embryo as like this precious possibility of life. You have quite a few embryos, right? But for doctor, it's not that. It's not about, well, you have many more, let's then have another try. It's really picking the embryo, right, for whatever readings they're doing and how they're deciding, and saying, have we created everything and anything possible to bring that embryo into the flourishing condition and give the maximum we can. And sometimes it means, yeah, slowing down, but that's okay. So yeah, thank you. Thank you for taking those words, and hopefully it will save us some grief, right? And just going with the trust. I think it's so important.
Yeah, 100%. And that's like, I think we have so much trust in like the doctors, like you guys and everything, and we feel in really good hands. So yeah, we're just willing to trust the process. I know like we obviously do have like a timeline around that we have in mind. However, it's not something that we can't work around if need be. Like there's way more kind of important things. So yeah, just being flexible.
Thank you so much. Would you share just kind of in a closing, just again for the ladies, for dads that are listening? And I know I keep saying ladies just because you're a lady,
Yeah.
but I think whatever you are saying, I definitely would welcome our listeners who are dads to also take it on, because until you go through this journey, right, even though you're not experiencing as a woman, there is still some thoughts and processes that we're going through that are universal for anyone. So anything like, what would you like people to walk away from, today's conversation with you? And I know we're going to have many more, but just today.
I think remove the preconceptions that surrogacy is super scary and that it can be I feel like there's a stereotype of it being quite like a stressful process. I think it has a lot of opportunity to kind of make people's dreams come true. Surrogates, I keep calling them angels. It's amazing that there are people in the world willing to kind of help other people in that way. But I think just do your research, ensure that you kind of are working with the best agencies, that you're making the best decisions, not out of like desperation, but like take a step back. Because I think having the right people behind you will just make this process a lot simpler, a lot more seamless, and just give you kind of like that support guidance. And they have all that knowledge because they've done this like lots of times. They will be able to help you like way more than kind of like anything else. So I think lean on them as much as possible.
Okay. Well, thank you so much and many blessings to your next steps, right? Well, we say it's a journey of many milestones. We're celebrating each of them. And
Yes.
now we putting big prayers for our next step, which would be, yeah, preparation of endometrium. And then the big one will be the embryo transfer. So many blessings and thank you for being today.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.